Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly. Along with James Smith, I'm Lyle Stokes. And tonight, James, we're going to be talking Grand Slam tournaments out in your neck of the woods.
I'm looking forward to it.
I think a lot of people out there are. Cindy and I had really planned on making that tournament, and I got this stuff on my leg, and we decided that we couldn't make it out there this time. But maybe next time we'll be able to do it. But I was excited about coming out there. Of course, we was going to stay a week or so and just have a bunch of fun. But as it turned out, I don't want to get away from the doctor's office that far for that period of time, and I'm not going to run out there for a couple of days and then run back. If I come out there, I'm staying a while. You guys get to throw me out of there.
There you go. You'll like North Carolina. I promise you that.
I'm afraid of that. Yeah.
Hey, you can calm down anytime. You don't need the Grand Slam.
Well, that's for sure. I got a cousin of mine. She's a couple times removed that lives near Charlotte. And I only met her for the first time about 10 years ago, and I stay in fairly well contact with her. She's older than I am, but she's a very sweet lady. And if I get out there and happen to not see her, I'd be in trouble with that. So, it's like going back home and visiting. It's only 250 miles, but you can't see everybody in one day.
Right.
And you got to get back. So you do the best you can to see all that you can, and the rest of them just have to understand. But, if I come out there that far, we're going to stay a few days and visit with people and catch some fish. Well, I don't care if we catch any fish or not. We're going to have a good time.
You catch fish, and there's a lot of good history. If you like history, there's a lot of good history here in North Carolina, too. And
I like that.
Yeah. Good gold mining started right here in North Carolina. All, across America, everybody talking about California gold rush. Hey, North Carolina was the very first gold rush right on the other side of Charlotte. So,
heck yeah, man. Jeff Manning.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk about Grand Slam tournaments that you started a few years ago that has piqued the interest of a lot of people.
Well, it's a good event, and like I say, the key thing on this event is to have fun. I mean, it's to challenge yourself and just see, because it is a lot more challenging to try to get all three species, but it's mostly just a let's have fun tournament.
That's my favorite kind. I mean, winning tournaments is a lot of fun, and winning money is a lot of fun, but having a good time is what makes it worth doing. It really is. And the thing that you got going where you have to catch a channel of blue and a flathead, that is really something special in my eyes, because so many of the people around here, you can't win tournaments consistently around here with flatheads. And the guys think that, well, I'm not fishing channel cat tournaments because I want to catch the big blues. Well, it doesn't matter if it's a blue or a flathead or a channel cat. If it's the biggest one in the pool you're fishing, that's the one you got to go for. And if you can catch all three species, you're a better, more rounded fisherman. And I am impressed with the whole thing of that.
Yeah, it definitely it humbles a lot of people. That's the funniest part. You have a lot of people, and I mean, they'll talk smack, and I catch channel cats every time I go. It's just a bycatch. It happens every time. Well, when you have to catch one, like I say, last year, and I said it on the show last time. Last year, I said, okay, how many people missed the slam by a channel cat? And literally half the field's hand went up.
At least half the field.
Everybody concentrated on big fish. Nobody worried about channel. And like I say, when I fish them, I do the direct opposite. I concentrate on the channel cat first, and then I worry about the big fish.
Figure you can get the rest of them if you can get that channel, huh?
That's right. I mean, like I say, the channel cat has cost me 2 of these events that I didn't win.
And what's sad is Wiley's got plenty of channel cats in it.
It does. But one of these 10-inch perch trying to catch those big ones, and then they get mad because they can't catch channel cat.
There you go.
10-inch perch. A lot of channel cats can't take that.
No.
I doubt there's any channel cats in Lake Wiley can take a perch like that anymore. They'll kill him, though.
Not anymore. You just don't see them.
Did they just catch them out there?
No, the blues.
Blues ate them?
Yeah, the blues just, I ain't gonna say they eat them, but the blues, Wiley used to be a fishery where, I mean, no joke. I remember the first time I caught a blue cat, and it was amazing because, I mean, literally, I've been on this lake since I was 12 years old, you know, and I caught my first blue cat when I was, I don't know, 35, 39, probably when I caught my first blue out of Wiley, and still hadn't caught a flathead at that time. And you'd go out fishing, you could target channels, target blues drifting. You'd catch 2 blue cats and 40 channel cats. Yeah. And then in the next year, or next 2 or 3 years, now you're catching a 50-50 mix. And then the next thing you know, if you go out there drifting, you might pick up a channel cat by accident, but you know, the rest of your creel is going to be all blues and flatheads.
Yeah. And I mean,
just pretty much ran them off, I think, more than anything.
Well, they can do that, but they will eat them. I mean,
oh yeah, I've caught a few of them with them hanging out of their jaw.
Yeah, they'll eat blues and flatheads. Well, I guess channel cats too, just about eat anything. But I was watching a guy's live show the other night, and they were out east there somewhere up around Maryland. They was actually cutting up channel cat and using them for bait. Well, if you would do that in Missouri, you would never get out of jail. They probably wouldn't even let nobody come visit you.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's taboo around here. Yeah, I was shocked when I seen that.
That old veteran that fishes down there we put on Jeff's boat last year, that old son of a gun uses channel cats all the time, and he's putting 40, 50s, and 60s on the bank.
Oh, there's no doubt.
On the bank.
Rotten.
Yeah, rotten. He sticks them in a bucket and lets them rot.
Oh, no, I ain't doing that.
No.
Oh, I swear he does.
Yeah. Hey, if it works for him and he don't mind the smell of that, more power to him. But I'm going to tell you right now, I ain't smelling that stuff.
Hey, and you know, people say, well, you can't catch them big blues with old stink bait. Well, if they'll eat that rotten ass channel cat, excuse my language, they'll eat stink bait, buddy.
You're right about that. Man,
he'll open that bucket and he'll clear the crowd. The crowd will leave him because that stuff stinks so bad. But he'll put them biggins on the bank.
Well, I tell you what, I'd like to have a bucket full of that and a pair of nose plugs and head into Walmart sometime, and I want to go through the checkout line.
No doubt.
Make sure you wear your mask. Make sure you wear your mask.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'd go right through that mask.
Oh, yeah. You'd be in trouble.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I'm like you, Lyle. I believe in catfish, or they're opportunist feeders.
Yes.
And, you know, you a 40-pound blue or flathead and a 1-pound channel comes swimming by your nose, that's lunch.
Yeah. Yep. I agree 100%. I've seen something fly through here, and the chat's going pretty quick tonight. Somebody said they wasn't going to cut them channel cat up for bait. They'd be eating them, and that's kind of where I'm at. They're some of my favorite eatings, and I think that probably flatheads are the best tasting, but if they're over 3 or 4 pounds, I can't kill a flathead. I don't know what it is about it. In fact, I haven't killed one in probably 25 years. I just can't make myself do it. They're my favorite, and I don't catch a lot of them. I don't fish for them a lot, but I love them flatheads. They're the king of cats, and I turn all of them loose. But the small blues I like to eat, I won't eat one of them when they get very big because they're so rubbery and strong tasting. But the little ones are good, and the channel cats are probably my favorite. I see SK's back in watching us tonight. The crappie man, I tell you what, he made some really great crappie videos. But if you like catching panfish, he makes some of the best bluegill videos you're ever going to see. And he keeps his crappie to eat and his bluegill to eat, and he catches them. You guys call them shell crackers. We call them red-eared sunfish. Man, He catches some giants down there. If you guys get a chance to go watch SK, go turn on his videos. He had a new one come out today, and he does a bang-up job with them. A lot of fun, entertaining stuff to do, and he's giving away some stuff, too, every once in a while.
Well, Jeff, tell us a little bit about some of the rules of this tournament, this Grand Slam, if you don't mind.
All right, so what we're going to do, Grand Slam, everybody knows you got to have the blue, the channel, the flathead. You don't have to have all three to weigh in a species. you can weigh in on any of them. If you go out there and catch one channel cat and that's the only fish you got, bring him to the weigh-in. If he's a 4 or 5 pounder, you never know. It might be last year it was a $500 fish. 5 pound won $500.
5 pound won $500.
Yep. And the way it worked out last year, we had 51 boats. So that means that all 3 species paid $510. And if you got the Grand Slam, it paid $1,020 because it's $20 per boat. So you can make a lot of money, or you can make a little money, or you can go home skunked. But remember, this is supposed to be fun. I don't want people getting mad, getting upset, having a bad time. Don't have a bad time. We won it one year, me and my partner. We didn't put a flathead in the boat till 5 minutes before quit time. This past year, the guy that won it, he caught his fish right at the end of the night, and ended up winning
in front of the dog.
Yep, and it won him $1,500. That one fish, because he took the Grand Slam. He took the Grand Slam with it, plus he took the fish, and he actually won I believe he won. Was it the flathead? So he won the flathead, the blue, and the Grand Slam.
He caught that flathead 5 minutes till the bell, sitting in front of the dock, Lyle. He decided to put his rods out, waiting the time to check in, because all he had was a blue in the channel. And that flathead buried his dadgum rod, right?
You can't give up. But the main one thing I want everybody to remember is when you come to the weigh-in, we're going to try to keep these fish as safe as we possibly can. And the way this works, there is no essentially we're not worried about second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth on down the line. So, and that's the reason why I like this tournament, because we can get the fish in and get them back in the water quick. And I mean, you could have one person come in and shut the entire weigh-in down with the first person that weighs in. And the reason why I say that, I tell everybody, first thing I tell everybody, don't bring your fish to the scales. The minute we get set up and ready to roll, I'll say, okay, let's get the Grand Slams up here. Who's got some Grand Slams? Start bringing the Grand Slams up. And that way, the minute the first person starts weighing, and the reason why I want the Grand Slams first is to make sure somebody's actually got a Grand Slam. If the Grand Slam doesn't happen, nobody's got it, and it could happen. I doubt it, but it could happen. If nobody has the Grand Slam, then what we'll end up doing is going to 2 fish weigh-in, 2 different species, and that will determine the winner of that money right there. So I want everybody to do the Grand Slam. But if you have somebody come in and weigh in 120 pounds for a Grand Slam with a 40, a 50, and a 6-pound channel, or even a 2-pound channel, then essentially you could say that eliminates 90% of the field right then. They don't even have to weigh their fish. They can go ahead and dump them back in the water. The quickest way to get these fish released. And then everybody can just sit around and talk about how that guy's a butthole for wiping out everybody's money in one weigh-in. But once the Grand Slams are done, what essentially is whatever puts on the board, it's king of the hill, essentially. After the first person weighs in, it's pretty much a king of the hill thing. I'll say, has anybody got a 30-pound plus blue? And if they do, bring it up there, we'll weigh it. And then essentially from that point on, if you can't beat that man, go turn your fish loose. And then we'll all sit up and have a good time talking and joking about the night. But I want it to be fun. I know with the COVID now, I mean, even though we are in North Carolina, we do have a permit to run this tournament. And to get the permit, you've got to pretty much say, we'll abide by the rules of the state of North Carolina and by the governor. So people should practice social distancing within reason. Try to just use common sense. I mean, they ain't going to shut us down, I don't believe, but essentially we don't want to rattle their cage either, because I'd like to be able to get this permit again next year or even the year after, or forever, really. Right. But like I say, that's pretty much there's no rod limit. There's no limit to the people on your boat as long as you keep a safe number of people. Like I say, this is about fun. If you want to put 5 people on your boat and each one of you pays $10 a piece to fish the tournament, hey, God bless you. Have fun.
Yeah. That's why I don't fish tournaments, Jeff, but I look so forward each year coming to official tournament. Mainly to support you and Richard. As much as I hate Wiley on a Saturday evening, that tournament is just so much fun because it is challenging. I'm like you. We grew up on Wiley catching nothing but channels. That's all that was in there for years. And now that these big blues and flatheads is in there, I don't chase them channels no more.
No.
So that does make a challenge to get that channel cat. So I'm like you. First thing I'm going after is the channel.
Morning. You better be chasing one of them Saturday morning.
That's right.
Yeah.
By the way, James.
And the full rules are actually on Facebook. You can look at Manning Grand Slam Tournament. It's an event. Just pull it up on Facebook. You'll find it, and it's got a full list of the rules. And like I say, let's just have fun. I mean, it's mainly just have fun. And if you don't know the difference between a blue and a channel, because we've had to turn a couple people away, thought they had the greatest channel in the world till you actually look at it real close. There is a difference. The rays will tell you the difference. There's a video actually on that link or on that page that I've just pretty much explained to everybody. Here's how you count the rays, and that'll tell you. And here's the way the ray is shaped on the bottom. Because now Wiley, I ain't gonna say there's a lot of them in there, but 5 years ago, me and my son-in-law was just out blue catfishing, and he caught one that weighed 13 pounds, channel cat. And that's rare air for Wiley. And I mean, this thing was pure golden. I mean, if it wasn't dark at all, it didn't really have the spots, but he was the color of gold. I mean, just a beautiful channel cat, 13 pounds. So I mean, they're there, but you can tell the difference when you get that big, though.
James, if for some reason we got a big storm, Cindy just come out here and said the stuff blowing all over. If I get knocked out, just continue on. I'll get back in when I can. I just want Chris, thank you so much for the donation. We appreciate it very much. Okay.
Got a lot of great channels in here tonight, Lyle.
We do. S&K and Sean T Outdoors, Avid Fisherman, PD, Kentucky Catman Outdoors, Fishing with Big Nasty, Jay's, Palmetto Cats, one Over Outdoors, Betty Jean Cross, Kentucky Headhunters.
Betty Jean shared the link to the Grand Slam.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Betty.
K&B, John Patrick III, Ace, Half Crazy Catfishing, Keeping It Real Fishing, Michael Murillo, which is in everybody's live feed. Bless his heart for seeing all of us. Skip Stewart, Team Wampus Cat, Finn Seeker, Skip Stewart again.
Twerking Monkey.
Twerking Monkey, James Dockery. We got a bunch of them in here tonight, James.
I see Cindy's in there. Hey, Cindy.
She just got home.
Oh, I hear you.
She's been to the store.
Jeff, if somebody, say, on the other side of the country that can't make the trip out here to fish that Grand Slam, would you encourage somebody to start a Grand Slam tournament of their own?
I really do. I think they should do it on all these lakes, really. Because, like I say, it's humbling, but it's fun. I mean, there's a lot of people that will not fish it because they don't want to have to chase a channel cat. You know what I mean? And that just makes no sense to me. I don't care. Like I say, back in the day, we would win with stringers that weigh 27 pounds on Wiley.
Been there, done that.
And we didn't mind a bit winning because it took 27 pounds. We were proud of that 27 pounds. But
yes, sir.
Test. I mean, to me, I'm not much about the money. Money's nice, but for me, it's always been about challenging yourself against the other people. And like I say, this is just a fun event. I think every lake should have it.
Yes, sir.
I agree. In fact, my good friend Tim Berger, I've talked to him about doing it. He runs tournaments up in the Kansas City area, but he goes out throughout the Missouri and Kansas and different areas. And I told him, I said, man, this is something that would bring a lot of entertainment factor to the fishing world. And I said, it's something that you should look at, I believe. And we'll see how it works out, but it's not just him. You could hold them anywhere that has all three species of fish. And let's face it, there's very few places that I know of, unless you go really far north, that doesn't have all three species.
Right. And the beauty of it is, again, I mean, I've said it before, you can catch one fish and walk away with one of the prizes. I mean, essentially, we pay 4 first-place prizes, essentially. That's all it is. The man that catches a 3-pound channel, if that's the biggest one, is going to win just as much money as the guy that catches a 60-pound blue. So I mean, any skill level can go out there. And I know it does take skill to catch all 3 or just blind luck sometimes. But any skill level. If you're good at catching channel cats, hey, it's a $50 entry fee. Go out there, catch you a 6-pound channel cat. Don't even target the other two species.
Yep.
Target the channel cats. And if you're good at catching channel cats, hey, you might get lucky, get your channel cat quick, and then go out and start looking for something else. But hey, if you're not good at targeting blues or targeting flatheads, hey, come out and try to win that channel cat prize.
That's right. Jeff PD Fishing says he is going to be looking for a pitcher this weekend.
Oh, okay. Tell him I'll sign him a selfie.
There you go. There you go. There was something. Oh, Elfstand made it in. Thank you for showing up, Chunky Cat Fishing.
Yeah, Jeff, the way I'm looking at it is when I throw big baits into brush for that flathead, I'm throwing little small brim into that same brush looking for them big channels. Because people, let me tell you, people, if you think that the only thing that hangs in brush are flatheads, you're missing out on a world of good fight of some big channels. Them big channels like that brush pile almost as much as that flathead does.
That's a fact.
And
I noticed that because years ago, fishing on Wiley, before all that was in there, Jeff, you can confirm a lot of this. A lot of the places that I targeted the bigger channels are the same place that I go back and target my flatheads.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for confirming that. I had a suspicion that it was, but not too many people want to give up that kind of information. But I mean, it's fact. They just because it's channel cats, they think, well, that's a river channel. You got to go deep. Nah, they run in shallows after them little brim. You throwing brim, people, and you bring them back in, and them brim's dead and hadn't been eaten, you on some channels. Them channels are killing your brim.
Or a lot of short strikes, a lot of runners that never hook up. Yeah, it's bigger channel teeth chasing them. I catch a lot of good-sized channel cats over the last few years out targeting my flatheads, and they'll hit a 4-inch, 5-inch bluegill like it's nothing.
Yep.
And I mean, I had won a tournament, and it's the only fish. I don't know if I'm jinxing myself or not. It's the only fish I've ever had die during a tournament. I have had one. As long as I've been tournament fishing, I've had one, and it was a channel cat that weighed about 4 pounds who swallowed about a 6-inch bluegill head first and never could get it all the way down. I mean, I was trying to help him get it out or get it all the way down, and he ended up dying in my live well because it got tangled up in his gill plate. But that's the only fish I've ever died. But like I say, he was eating a bait that he was never should have tried to tackle to start with.
They don't take a big one, and it brings to a point, Jeff. I wonder how many times that actually happens in nature. And it's not just channel cat, but a blue or a flathead will get one that they can't handle and end up dying trying to digest.
I've probably found 2 or 3 flatheads on. Well, I know I found 2 flatheads and 1 blue on Wiley that had died or was dying, and all of them were because they had swallowed another catfish head first.
Yep.
The gills the pectoral fins that got flared out, and they went right through the gills, and they couldn't spit it out, and they couldn't swallow it. It was locked in, and they were done for. I even found a largemouth. We was working on a job, kept seeing about a 4.5-pound largemouth rolling on the surface, and my brother goes, "What's up with that fish out there?" So I waded out in the water, of course, reached down and grabbed him, and he had about a 2-pound channel cat head first. Now this bass wasn't but this long, and he had a channel cat that was that long, and he had done the same thing. He got it in his mouth, and the fins, he didn't even get it down in his stomach part. The fins were locked out, sticking through both cheeks on the bass. I don't think he was trying to eat him. I don't know if they both went for the same piece of bait or the same minnow or bluegill at the same time, but yeah, he messed up. So I had to sit there and weave the catfish out of his mouth, and they both swam off.
Now, I've caught largemouth like that and have a big brim still stuck in her mouth, and you see the tail sticking out, and they hit a big rubber worm. Now, you ain't even got that fish swallowed, and you still eating.
Yeah, not
so I'm going to throw this up. Y'all 2 older fishermen. I mean, Jeff, you ain't as old as me and Lyle, but what I'm saying is you got years of experience. I think a lot of people misinterpret wildlife. They almost look at wildlife with an instinct as humans. And wildlife, there's three things: eat, poop, and reproduce.
That's all they care about. That's every article I've ever been in. The first thing I tell the writer I'm with is the biggest mistake people make is they put human emotions in a fish. One that always cracks me up was I had a guy tell me one time, I had a fish messing with a line. I reached up and grabbed the line. I kind of pulled on it. And he goes, "Oh, don't do that. That fish can feel your pulse through there and he'll know you're human." I literally looked him right in the eye and I just said, "Wow." He didn't know. I was thinking, "Wow, how can anybody be that dumb?" But I mean, literally, I just said, "Wow, that's amazing." And he goes, "Yeah, they can feel it." I mean, I've had people that get with me fishing shallow water. And, you know, I've seen people lower a 35-pound anchor down in the water so slow that it's not even making a swirl going through the water. I'll pull up to 3 feet of water. I'll take a 35-pound anchor and I will launch it and go whoosh, you know. And I was with a guy. He goes, "Man, you just scared every fish around here away." I looked at him. I said, "Now, when a fish hears a splash, does he run from it or does he run to it?" And he goes, "Oh, they're going to run from it." I said, "Then how come when you see a fish schooling on the surface, splashing everywhere, more fish come?" And we had that conversation. I said, "I bet you the first fish we catch will be right where I just threw that anchor." And he goes, "There ain't no way. There's no fish here." I threw 3 lines out literally within 15 feet of where I put the anchor in the water. It wasn't 5 minutes, 2 rods folded down. I said, "Fish hear splash. They may spook for a second, then they're going right back to see it, investigate, because it's something to eat." That's all they're thinking. Like you say, eat, poop, and reproduce. That's all they care about.
I have a friend of mine that was a farmer when we grew up, and his dad had the best analogy for that. And, you know, we went out there one day and they had a dead calf out in the field. And I said something about it. And he said, "You know what?" He said, "If you're going to have livestock, you're going to have dead stock. If you're not prepared to that, you cannot be a farmer."
Yep.
And that's very true. Now, I got a question in here that we was talking about the flatheads and the blues and the channel cats earlier. And Chris Steigman left us a note in chat, and he says, "I've never caught a flathead. You mentioned better taste. How is it different?" Legit question. Well, the difference is the texture of the meat and the taste. Flatheads just taste better. Now, if you guys got anything to add to that, but the texture of the meat's quite a bit different. And on the belly of that flathead, if you got a 5, 6, 7, 8, 10-pound flathead, don't throw that belly away till you cut that meat off, because it's the best part of that fish, in my opinion.
It's not too. What I like about it, which, like I say, I'm like you. Like I haven't took a knife to a flathead since I left New Madrid, Missouri. That's been a long time. But now my mama and all my aunts and uncles that still live in the New Madrid area, man, you can't get a flathead away from them. I'm gonna tell you right now, they love them some flathead. And that belly meat, they'll fight over that.
Oh yeah,
they are kin. Somebody gonna get hurt. They reach
get you a fork in the back of your hand.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I hate to say it, never eat a flathead.
Oh, they're awesome.
Now, I like them little channel cats about 6 to 8 inches long, little salt and pepper channels, bone in.
Yep.
Jeff, you remember Lineburger's Fish Camp?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, son.
Little small fiddler catfish, they call them.
Oh, son. They'd bring them out there, and I'd tell them, keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Have a plate full, have a whole pile full of bones.
Oh, son. Now, that's good eating to me. Straight off the bone.
Fish is and I know my favorite fish is the buffalo. I love buffalo. I mean, that is some of the purest white meat flesh you'll ever eat.
Yep, that's a fact. Dr. has joined the chat. Welcome, Doctor.
I hear you, Doc.
But
Come on in the house.
Them are buffalo are great eating fish if you want to catch them. Crappie, I love crappie. I'm not a walleye fan. I know a lot of people like walleye and talk about how good they are. I'm not impressed with them. But I could go down there to Wes K's house and he could cook them crappie, and I'm pretty sure I'd founder on them before he got done cooking them, because he catches a pile of them every time he goes out. And I'm sitting here watering at the mouth thinking, man, if I was down there by him, he'd have to run me off.
See, I like crappie in the wintertime. It seems like summertime, it seems like that meat gets a little mushy to me on the crappie. Summertime, I like them old big pond bluegill.
Yeah, you
Fire
can't
the
be.
grease up.
Oh yeah,
Fire the grease up on the pond bank.
about like
So
that.
them suckers in the grease still wiggling.
Yeah,
Oh,
even
son
tail
of a
and
gun.
all,
Man,
tail and all.
making me hungry, guys.
Yeah, I haven't eaten supper yet, so I mean
Oh, dude,
it's as bad. It's real bad.
Jeff,
But now,
what time's your tournament start?
there you go.
Okay, signups. The signups start at 4:30 at the South Point Boat Landing. If anybody don't know where it's at, you can punch it up and you can find it. I'll scan over these rules real quick, make sure it's nothing I missed. Sign up registration be from 4:30 to 5:45. We're gonna blast off at 6 o'clock, and it's gonna be like shotgun blast off. Everybody, and again, this is a fun tournament. Please be careful at blast off. Don't hammer it when you see 20 boats coming down the lake. Take your time. I mean, it's a big lake. You know, if somebody beats you to the spot, that's probably a good thing. Maybe they ain't gonna catch nothing out of it anyway. But like I say, 4:30 to 5:45. We blast off at 6. Safety is the main thing. Wear your life jacket. Yeah, I mean, I know it's people don't like to wear them, but wear your life jackets during blast off, please, because you never know what'll happen. Other than that, like I say, blast off's at 6 o'clock. You got to be back inside the no wake buoys at the boat ramp at 1 o'clock. We just got to remember at 1 o'clock. Got to be inside that area. Don't come in at 1:15 because I don't want to have to be the bad guy that turns somebody away.
There you go.
That's good advice. One thing that I'm going to mention here that has nothing to do with your tournament, of course, damn near everything I talked about tonight didn't have too much to do with it, but I would like to see all the tournament directors, all nationwide, make it mandatory that you're wearing them PFDs before you leave. I would personally like to see it mandatory in tournaments that anytime the big motor's running that you have your life jacket on. And I know I hate to wear them. I'm as guilty as anybody, more guilty than most, but it's a safety factor, and we've been seeing too many accidents on the water, and I think that it's something that all tournament directors should consider. And I know it's becoming part of more rule packages all the time, and I believe that it needs to be. And in Missouri, anyhow, kids 15 years or younger, if that boat moves for any reason, that kid's got to have a life jacket on. Now, I don't know if that's everywhere, but in Missouri, if it moves, that child has to have a life jacket on of some kind, and I think that that's something that everybody should consider also.
Well, you know, nobody has ever went to the water, and that's what I tell people. Nobody has ever went to the lake to go fishing and said, I'm going to drown today.
No.
Not a single time. So everybody that drowns, they didn't expect to drown. I know that sounds kind of corny, but like I say, it's a fact. Nobody goes out there expecting to drown. So, I mean, that's why I don't understand why people don't, because you never know. You hit your head, you fall, you slip out of the boat. It's hot. You could actually have an episode and just pass out. We had that happen on Wiley about 3 years ago, or actually 2 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, perfectly calm day. During the day, the guy just pretty much, they said the only thing they can figure out is he passed out in the heat, bumped his head, and never come back up.
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know. It's just too simple. It's too simple to do to risk your life over.
I have a
Let me
comment
tell
in
you.
the chat that Alleged Outdoors says, I'm in Missouri, and I thought they had to have a life jacket on, moving or not. If they do, that's something that I'm not aware of and that they passed recently. As far as I know, though, it has to be moving. But you will get a ticket, whether you're using a trolling motor, the big motor, or whether it's floating, if a boat is moving. But if they've changed that law, then you could be right about that. But I've not heard that they had to have it if they was in the boat. If the boat was moving, to my knowledge, you still don't have to have them. A kid doesn't have to have them on, but they may, if they've changed that, that's something we probably ought to check into. And I've got a guy that lives close to me. I will check into that and let everybody know. But as far as I know, that's not the case. But I'm okay with that. You know, I don't want to see none of these kids get in a situation like that either.
And it don't matter how good a boater you are either, because it may not be you that causes the problem. I mean, I got a good friend and his wife who, middle of the day, broad open daylight, a guide, an actual fishing guide, not paying attention, too busy staring at it, or had people sitting on the front of the boat in front of the windshield, for one thing, literally drove straight into them in the middle of the lake, and they're screaming and hollering, and the guy swerved literally at the last second. When he did, the friend of mine said that he could see the boat as he went over it because he was trying to get out of the way. And when the boat hit, it launched him over the boat that just hit him. Said he literally watched the boat go under it. And luckily, he didn't hit the boat. And it's one of the few times he didn't have his life jacket on. And now, like I say, you will hear them say their life jackets on when they're in the boat. It don't matter if they're drifting. It don't matter if they're anchored. They wear the auto inflates now. And I can't blame a bit. I mean, you really can't. Like I say, that could have killed both of them just that quick. And it wasn't nothing that they done wrong. It was just somebody else's stupidity.
And people don't realize that hot water is just about as bad as cold water.
It is.
It will zap your energy. And Wally, that water gets hot. I've jumped off boats many times in the middle of the summer, just climb right back in the boat and think, that's like swimming in your freaking bathtub, man. It's so freaking hot that it just zaps you. So if you have to try to swim to shore or something like that, you might not make it because you'll be so freaking wore out from swimming in hot water. The same way cold water, it will zap your muscles quick. So, yeah, I agree. Life jackets, please. Be safe.
Paul Smith says in Tennessee, 12 and under must have life jackets on at all times. That's a good law.
Good. I didn't see them. Of course, I ain't been on Facebook in a couple of days and just scanned through it real quick and got back off of it. But now, Jeff, what made you come up originally with this idea of this tournament?
Well, it wasn't just my idea. The Carolina Catfish Club, which is a group that we used to have, and we really need to get it started back again because it wasn't a tournament oriented club. We would meet on Wednesday night once a month. We would all eat dinner together. We would go to these sports bars. We'd rent the banquet room out or just get the banquet room. We'd bring in 50, 60 people. We'd all eat a good meal, have somebody do a little quick speech or talk. That's how we got the regulations on Lake Wiley changed for the Blue Cat. That group, Dieter Melhorn was the one who pretty much spearheaded it. But we did do 2 or 3 tournaments during the wintertime when all the other tournament series around here were all during the summer. We done ours during the winter to stay out of their way. And now they all do it in the winter and run us to the summer. But anyway, we was just sitting around one day and just everybody was like, hey, we'd like to do something different. We bounced around 5 or 6 different ideas and we all come up with, hey, I was like, I'd like to do something like that with all 3 species or 2 species. And before it's over with, it turned into the Grand Slam.
I'd heard the story, but I wasn't sure, and I wanted you to tell it again because, it's amazing how sometimes stuff comes up and you think, man, how'd they come up with that idea of doing that? And then you get to thinking, well, that is a good idea. That's something, Jeff, I applaud you. To me, this is a family-oriented type of tournament. You bring your family out, put rods and reels in your kids' hands, worms or chicken livers or whatever.
You never know.
And you never know. I mean, and let them throw it out. If they want to throw it out and reel it in, throw it out and reel it in, who cares? You're out there having fun, and the kids will. And, I've caught a lot of channel cats chasing rubber worms and crankbaits and everything else. So who knows? That kid liable to get a daggum fight of his life just throwing out and reeling in.
I just think it's an extremely cool format. The only thing that I know of in the fishing world that I would be more intrigued with would be a format like they have on TV where they catch them fish and release them, catch as many as you can. What they call that?
Oh yeah. I know exactly.
If they would do that in the catfishing world, that would take over. There's no question in my mind because for them to catch a 10-pound bass, my God, that's giant. Well, hell, we throw them back like that in every tournament I was ever in.
You're mad. You're mad because you caught it.
Because it's bothering you. Yeah. we're looking for 60, 80-pound fish. Even in a channel cat tournament, most of the time 10-pound fish won't get you very much in a lot of the big channel cat waters. But them guys, they talk about them bass. Well, bass has got scales. It's nothing more than any other bait fish in the water to a blue or a flathead or a big channel. That's just the way it is. I mean,
Lyle, here in North Carolina, I promise you that ditch pickle is good bait, ain't it, Jeff?
It might be. It might be.
Yeah, it might be.
I might have used one or two in my day.
Don't mean to hurt feelings, because I tournament fished for bass for years, and I still love bass fishing. It's a good sport. It really is. It's fun. But it ain't nothing like that daggum flathead or that blue bite. They bury that freaking rod up.
I see you guys out there using them crappie for bait too. Now, I ain't real sure I could do that if it was very big. You know, I was going to have to take that baby home and eat it.
I've used crappie up to 1.5 pounds live.
Oh, wow.
1.5 pounds live crappie. Yes,
that's
sir.
A heck of a sandwich right there, Jeff Manning.
Yeah, I know it, but I had about 100 more in the freezer, from the last 3 trips. But yeah, sometimes bait's hard. I mean, bait's rough sometimes because, I had one like that, and I said, I'm putting him out. And then my buddy goes, ain't nothing going to hit that. Yeah, I said, we'll see. Big splash. I'm like, it's on. Yeah, it's a 10-pound flathead. He ate that 1.5 pound crappie like it was absolutely. I mean, it was gone when we got there.
I've seen this flathead 3 and 4 pounds take hand-sized bluegill, and all you can see is the tip of the tail when you take the hook out of him and throw him back in, because the rest of him's gone, man. I mean. Yeah. I've said for years I'm not sure that flatheads eat them bluegill to eat them because they're hungry. I think they're just mean, nasty old fish, and they just eat them to kill them.
I think they're especially on Wiley. You'll see a lot of nights where you'll look up and you'll see that bluegill, or you'll see the rod start that little dance, where it's vibrating, and know that bait's going crazy.
It's trying to get away.
You'll see that bump, the rod will bend just barely, and you go, oh, it's on. Yeah. And then it'll sit there for 20 minutes just bent, and then finally you'll see it start to lure, and it'll pop up, and you go, well, why did he not take it? You reeled in, and that bluegill will be literally smashed as flat as a pancake, and he just didn't want to eat it. He just killed it because it was there. Yeah, I'm just saying if I left it there, he wouldn't come back, but he just killed it because it was there.
I believe that, and I've said that for years, and people think, that old guy, he's full of crapola, but I'm telling you, they're a killing machine.
Especially during spawn. If anything gets out them when they're spawning, they're not hungry. They got something else on their mind, and it's protection mode. They're going to kill anything that gets close.
I agree.
Yeah,
they are a killing machine. They're an eating machine too. But like I say, I've caught a lot of them with bluegill. All you see is the end of the tail stuck in them big enough. You'd have to cut the line off. There's no way to get the hook out of it.
Yeah.
And they just, I'm just not convinced that they kill them because they're hungry all the time. I think they just kill them to be killing.
Yeah, like you said, Jeff, though, I think a lot of that, too, is around the spawn. They go in there for protection or to run them off the nest or just, like you said, just kill them so they ain't. Because good and well.
They snap. I mean, look at a largemouth when it's on bed. You may have to hit him between the eyes 10 times, but finally you tick him off enough, he'll suck something down. Just because he can get it to run it off by just swiping at it, he'll finally eat it just to get rid of it.
I seen him grab them and spit them. Just like that. Grab it, spit it. Grab it, spit it.
Scare them away.
Yep. Many a time. And that's probably what them old flathead do, except they'll bash them son of a guns flat.
Flat, yeah. They just stay.
First time I reeled in one, I thought, what in the world? Why somebody stepped on that brim? I thought, what killed my freaking brim? And, after I talked to you and Dieter and a couple of them other guys, that was when I just got back into catfishing and never caught a flathead yet. I thought, what is doing that to my brim? But now big channels will do the same freaking thing, too.
They'll mouth them pretty bad. But I've actually caught channel. I had a small blue down there toward Ebenezer one day. I was reeling in, got the blue all the way to the boat, the rod right beside it, folded over. Now, when I say small blue, he was about a 3 to 4 pound. The rod right beside it folded over. So, of course, I just jammed the rod in the holder, grab this rod, set the hook, and I'm sitting there playing this fish. I get him just about to the boat, and I heard a racket, looked over, and the rod that had that little blue on was buried to the water and screaming drag. I mean, this thing was rolling. And when I finally slowed the fish down, he rolled. It was a big flathead. I was in 45 foot of water. But undoubtedly, either he was chasing it as I was reeling up, or he seen it up on the surface and he was just watching that fish in distress. But he didn't slack up. When he grabbed that blue, he was gone. I mean, it was aggressive.
Mm.
And of course, I dropped the rod that I had the other fish on, stuck it in the boat, and it came off while I was trying to fight this one. You know, fishermen are never happy. You never happy. You got one on, another rod folds over, you're gonna grab the other rod. You know, you just going to. Sometimes you'll go, okay, which one's bigger? And you hand the one that's smallest to your partner and let him fight that one. And usually you're wrong. Usually you're always wrong when you give them a big fish.
I think that's what Dieter does to Grayson, is he lets him reel in the little ones. That way makes him look good and reels in them big ones.
Yeah, Dieter's like that.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Dieter's like that.
I think that people
Grayson can take them away from him now, I believe.
Well, I think that Grayson is the reason they watch Dieter's videos. It ain't for Dieter, because Grayson's the star of the show now.
That young man's done grew up big time. He's hit a growth spurt. Last video I seen, I said, son, that boy's done put on some weight and grew.
And he's very good in them videos, too. Dieter should be very proud of that young man.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But now, Jeff, the decision would have been easy for me when that fish was pulling drag like that, knowing what size fish was already on the line when he took it. Oh, that'd been an easy decision right there for me.
Bird in hand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, when you're chasing them flatheads, it ain't nothing for you to throw them big baits. What you talking about, 1.5 pound, 2 pound baits?
Oh, no, I do it on purpose. And I know you can catch big fish on small bait. Like I say, the 82 pounder was on piece size of my thumb. But the only reason I had that piece of bait on because it was the piece of scrap left over and had one rod. The other ones had, 1/2 pound baits and, 12-inch perch cut up. I do it mainly to eliminate the small fish. Not that I can't catch big fish on them, but I do it to eliminate the small fish. And there is no adrenaline rush in the world like knowing you got a tube. I've used a carp up to about 3 pounds. And there's no adrenaline rush like looking up and knowing something just grabbed a 3 pound bait. Whether or not he's going to take it the rest of the way or not, there's nothing like it. I got a video, the Christmas video with I do every year with Mama. When she passed, I still go fishing at Christmas. I have one, and in the video, you hear me just literally like, no, because I knew I had that day. I had a 1.5 pound crappie on the line, sat there for 30 minutes, and when the line finally started moving, it started swimming upstream, barely moving, and this fish took the rod till it touched the water, and I knew I was going to have this monster, and it came off, of course. But yeah, I do it just mainly because I've caught enough fish. I just go out there. I'm one of those people. I don't care if I catch a fish or not when I go fishing. I go out there. I'm targeting big fish. That's all I want. Unless I got somebody on the boat. If I got somebody on the boat, I don't care. I just want to catch fish. I don't even want to touch a rod if I've got somebody else on the boat.
Yeah. But without somebody on the boat, I'm throwing the biggest baits I can get my hands on because I'm going for what do you call it, a daggum grand slam. I plan on knocking it out of the park or going home lost. One of the
Hero
two.
or zero.
There you go.
I can wait. I don't mind sitting for 2.5 hours. If I know the fish are there or if I know they're coming, I don't mind sitting for 2.5, 3 hours for that one bite.
Okay. Being a tournament fisherman, y'all two, got a question. I sat and watched somebody the other day fishing, and I'll not say their names. They in here. And I asked them, I said, y'all moving already? And they've been there 30 minutes. They said, we give it 30 minutes and we move. Being tournament fishermen, do you approach a tournament different than you do your everyday fishing?
No. No. And I think that's what hurts a lot of the guys that go from fishing and then they go to tournament fishing, and then all of a sudden they can't get those 30 pounders anymore. They start worrying about me personally. When I set up, if I know the fish is there, heck with it. I'll sit there and wait. I mean, my MO back years ago, was I would always catch my winning fish literally in the last hour of the tournament, but I may have been sitting there for 2.5, 3 hours if I know he's there. I think most people win a tournament, they get to worried about they haven't caught a fish. They haven't caught a fish. They bolt and run from an area that they know they got good fish in, but they run before the fish just take. I mean, blue cats are notorious for you'll be in an area, you got rods stowed out covering 100 yards. You sit there for 2 hours, you haven't had a bite. The first rod folds over, and before that rod even gets bent all the way, the rod on the other side of the boat folds over, and then the one in the back side of the boat. It's just like they're all sitting there, and then once one triggers or something, something sparks them, current or whatever, boom, they start catching fish.
Well, also, blues being a traveling fish, you're liable to be in a transition area and might not be no fish there when you set up. But eventually those fish are going to come through that area. And, I mean, I understand the run and gun. I do. I understand that. It's trying to catch them prime fish that are biting right then. But to me, traveling time is not a time that you're basically not in the water while you're going down the water.
Traveling and setup. They want to hit the fish between the eyes. Now, it happens. It happens.
Yes.
You pull up, throw the rods out before you get the second rod folds over. But again, I've seen it many a time. You sit there for an hour and a half and go, okay. I mean, I'm almost OCD about. I stop the first spot. I give it an hour and 45 minutes in the morning, just because I want that morning bite. I don't want to be traveling during that morning bite. I'll set a clock and a timer up, and I mean, literally, I don't care how bad it is. I won't move till that thing goes off, because I've had so many times. Literally, I'm dying wanting to move and say, okay, get them up, jump up, start reeling rods, and the rod just buried. I mean, it's just I'm OCD like that, and then I give it an hour pretty much every time I set up. I give it at least an hour, but I make sure when I set up that I'm exactly where I want to be. I won't set up, and if my anchors didn't hang up exactly right, and I'm 30 feet off or 40 feet off, I'll pull them right back up. My son-in-law, I mean, he already have arms like Popeye during tournament season. It ain't nothing for me to say drop it, and I get the boat locked in. I go, nope. It's just we're just a little bit off. Pull them up. Let's do it again, because I know I'm going to be there for over an hour. I want it to be right.
Yeah. Right. One of the things that we was in a big tournament here 3 years ago, one of the biggest tournaments in the nation, and we had took a guy with us, and I had found a spot that was loaded with giants, and we go back every day and make sure the fish was there and didn't bother them. And on game day, we go down, we set up on them, and we was there a couple hours. This guy was just nervous as no gal in church. He couldn't wait to get away from there because they wasn't biting. And my theory was I was staying there till noon, because I knew them giants was in there. At some point, they was going to bite. In fact, I would have probably stayed there all day, which is rare for me. But there was too big a fish and too many of them to leave. And I just got so tired of hearing him, we got to put fish in the boat, that we went to an area and put 5 little dinky fish in the boat. And then I said, okay, now we're going to go somewhere else. And the rest of the time, by then, the good bite of the day was gone, and it was too far back to that spot to get back down there. But in my mind, I know if we'd have stayed in that spot all day, we'd have probably we may not have had winning fish, but there was winning fish there.
I'd much rather lose with my game plan than to lose at the end of the day and go, you know what, if I hadn't second-guessed myself, if I had stayed there, I probably could have at least put this. Or I hate for people to call me and say, hey, how you doing? I mean, I'll tell people, I'll say, well, I've got this. I hate for people to go, yeah, we've got 90-something pounds. Not because I'm mad because I got 90 pounds, because then it puts that little seed in your brain like, oh, I need to change what I'm doing. I need to change what I'm doing. And I'd rather just stick with my game plan. I'd rather lose with my A game, knowing that I've done exactly what I planned to get out there and start hopping around. And then at the end of the day, you go, man, if we would have just stuck with the plan, we could have pulled out a top 3 or top 5. We just had
do you think them guys call you and do that on purpose?
Oh, yeah. I guarantee you a lot of them do it on purpose.
They do.
Yeah.
They better blame. The only way to stop them is when they say, well, I got 90 pounds. Well, I got 115.
Well,
You
I
gotta
done it
have
to
them. You can't just say it.
I done it to one day. He goes, "How you doing?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "We just got done calling a 35. Crickets. Didn't hear nothing on the other end of the line. Nothing."
Yeah. But yeah, they do that on purpose all the time, and some of them will actually have some good fish, and others won't have a fish in the boat.
Right.
But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
people will play head games with you, and that's part of tournament fishing. It makes it interesting sometimes, but yeah, if you tell that guy you got more fish in his boat when it comes to weigh-in, you better actually have them, or you're never ever going to hear the end of it.
Thank you, Betty Jean. Betty Jean's putting up a lot of different people's their links and stuff. I appreciate you sharing that out. And the people I was mentioning on that, and it wasn't that I was trying to call you out about moving or not moving in water. I just wanted to express and let y'all hear it from two longtime catfishermen right here that sometimes that run and gun works good, and then other times you need to set on them. And trust your instincts on where you set up. Like Jeff said, you know that place can hold the fish, or you might even mark them or might not mark them. Don't be scared to set up on them. Well, one of the guys that fishes for Southeastern, Jeff, he hardly ever moves, does he? He's what's Martin? Ain't his name Martin? Last name Martin.
I've had people say, "Did you move all day?" I said, "Yeah." And they go, "You didn't move." I said, "Dude," I said, the biggest problem I see with guys fishing, which I shouldn't say that. The thing I see a lot of guys doing, they'll go to fish an area. They will not be catching anything. They pack up. They don't just move 100 yards. They don't just move a couple 100 yards left or right. They run and gun. They run 7 miles down the lake and then set up on the exact same condition, the exact same edge they just left. Yep. So essentially, they just traded one 30-foot dead hole for another 30-foot dead hole. Now, I know sometimes, the fish run 30 foot. Yeah, maybe you find. But, years ago, when I was real successful, I had the slowest boat out there. I had a 24-foot pontoon boat with a 60 horsepower motor that done 13 to 17 mile an hour if it had a tailwind and the current was running downhill. But when I went wherever I went fishing, that I was there. I'm married to it, and I would work a half-mile ledge and start at one end of it and work that ledge, and literally every hour jerk the lines up and move 100 yards. And eventually, the fish are on the ledges. Eventually, I'd get lucky and finally find that pot of fish. And like I say, at 2:30, have 0 in the boat. 3 o'clock, have 90 pounds. I think that's the biggest problem. Faster boats just means people go somewhere else faster.
That's a lot of it. Now, I want to tell you, a good friend of mine, John Nordyke, and I was fishing a tournament in St. Louis several years ago. It's probably been 15 years ago. And we found fish the day before and tried to catch a couple of them and couldn't get them to go. But tournament day, I had 2 in the boat before he got his first line in the water, 2 teenage fish. It was like that from the time we set up until the time we went in. And we'd sit there until they quit biting, and John would say, "Hey, I picked the last spot. Why don't I'll pull the anchors up and you put us somewhere else." And I'd move over 15 or 20 feet. And I'd say, "Okay, drop the anchor." And they'd start up again. And that day he caught his personal best fish at that time twice that morning. Our first one was like a 45 and the second one was a 54 or something. We didn't get big fish, but we won the tournament going away, and we was throwing back 30s and 40s that whole day. And it was just when they quit biting, we'd move up or down or over from one side to the other of where we was parked at 15, 20 feet, maybe 30. And they'd stick off again. And if they didn't, we'd move, But we sat there that whole day within an eighth of a mile of where we started, probably within 100 yards of where we started, and caught fish all day. And I'm convinced that if we just stayed there all night, it was a resting area for where they come up over the chain of rocks and fighting that heavy current coming up the Mississippi River, and they get in there and they was resting up, and while they was resting, there was a lot of bait fish in there. They getting them a snack before they jump out in there to head up to the dam, and they would come in behind that island, and I mean, we was knocking them out. And the day before, we had the same bait in the same area, and we sat there and almost didn't go to that spot because the day before we didn't catch no fish, none. But that day we
trusted you got.
Yeah.
You trusted it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a video on YouTube. I think you have to punch in. I can't remember the guy's name. 720-pound of fish in like 4 hours. This guy's setting up there. Oh my God. He was telling his buddy, you shouldn't have called in sick. You shouldn't have called in sick. He was wearing them big fish out. And I thought that was a day that's once in a lifetime. But he's had a couple videos where he's got on them fish up there on the James River like that. So, but he didn't move. He was in that one spot for like 4 or 6 hours. I forget how long he was there. He was sitting there. So, trust your gut, people. And
right.
Sometimes, patience will pay off a lot of times, though.
Well, usually when we go into a tournament, now, Jeff, I'm not sure how you do it, but I'll have a plan A, B, and C, maybe a D. And now if we're in one of the boats that we're sponsored by, they're usually fast enough. I don't worry about people beating me to spots, but I don't run them that hard anymore. But now if we're in our old boat, which we haven't used in a couple of years, it doesn't go very fast. So if you don't have, I was in a tournament one time in St. Louis, and first 4 places we went to, somebody beat us, and we left like 3rd or 4th out. It just.
Oh, I look at where everybody's pointing, and I go the opposite direction. I don't care.
Good idea, yeah.
I mean, if there's 50 boats in the tournament and 45 of them are pointing north, I'm going south because I figure I got the whole lake to myself. If I go south.
That's right. But I have 4 or 5 places picked out to go to, and if they beat me to one, I'll just go to another one. And there's fish. Carl Morris, and everybody knows Carl Morris. He's got a great analogy about that. His boat doesn't go real fast. It's like a 34, 35-mile-an-hour boat, and he don't ever go over 25 or 30 miles. He said, if I can't find fish in that distance from the boat ramp, I'm not looking hard enough.
I mean, 50 drive over.
Yeah, and he's always, well, not always, but nearly always in the money. A lot of times he'll win them big tournaments, and he don't have a real fast boat. He just does a really good job of finding the spot where the fish are.
Wow, what tournament was that? What tournament was that a couple years ago where the 2 old men won the big tournament and a flat bottom John boat and was fishing just not far from the landing that they put out, and it was one of the big tournaments and beat everybody by 70 pounds.
Yeah, I forget. That was down in I think it was either in Kentucky or Tennessee, and I don't remember which tournament it was. But one that sticks in my mind are 2 kids in a 16-foot John boat with a 30-horse motor went to a tournament up on the Mississippi River here 2 or 3 years ago. Never fished a tournament before, wanted to give it a try, and they didn't just beat everybody, they beat them bad. And they never fished a tournament before, and they come in and puttered in that old boater and stuff, not running. I never was so proud of anybody in my life. And I mean, they beat some big time people, and they just kids, just out having a good time, and they had a good time that night.
And it makes you proud of them right there. It does. You feel proud for them. I mean, them kids will remember that the rest of their lives.
They'll tell their kids and grandkids that story of the first tournament they ever fished.
Yep.
And put out and drilled it. And you know what? They may never fish another tournament, and they may never win another tournament. There's people that fish for 20 years and never place in the money, but they enjoy doing it.
Yep.
And they keep doing it. And as long as you're having a good time, there's no reason to ever quit.
Right. Well, them 2 old guys, second place was 70 pounds away. That's a pretty big tail whooping right there, son. I've took some beatings on home water, what I considered home waters.
that there was no way I would have thought that we wouldn't at least got in the top 10 or 15 boats and not caught a fish, and other guys come in there, never been there before, and killed it. And I've done the same thing to other people. And you got to have a plan, stick to it, win, lose, or draw. Because like Cindy told me, she said, don't ever change your mind again, because every time you change your mind at last minute, it costs us because we don't do any good. So
and hot water to kill you, because the fact you start using your head instead of using your heart, and you start listening to that voice in your head that says, no, this ain't going to work.
That's
Where
right.
you go to a lake you ain't never been to before, you look at your topo map and you go, the fish are to be here. And you go by what the information is telling you. Where on your home waters, you have a habit of going, man, I've caught some big fish over here in this hole. And you're going straight to it. And like I say, you drove across arches everywhere because you wanted to get to that hole. And then you go, I shouldn't have come here and fished anyway.
Get that tunnel vision.
You get that tunnel vision. You start fishing by memory instead of the now. You start using memories instead of the now.
I don't know how you guys feel about it, but if I go to Lake Ozark tomorrow to the ramp that we go to because it's close to us, there's certain places that I'm sure I can go get bait. But I never worry about where I've caught fish, because every time you go out, especially with blue catfish, they move so much that I can't count on them being in them spots. But I look for fish, and when I find them, we fish them. And if I got to go 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles to find them, we'll fish them when I find them. Some days I don't ever find them. But most of the time on the lake, you do find them. Yeah, that's just part of it. Rivers, for me, rivers are a little more predictable because the structure, like the wing dikes and stuff like that, is going to be there. The dams that they build across them, they're going to be there. And if you're going to fish dams or if you're going to fish wing dikes, you will find one. They all don't hold fish, but when you find the ones that hold fish, they're usually got some good fish on them. And up at the lake, a lot of times we go up there just to catch fish and have a good time. And they're not always big. Sometimes you get into a good one, but I just can't count on blue catfish up at the lake being in the spot every time. Just can't do it.
Well, and I've asked the question, say if I'd called Jeff and said, look, I ain't been on the water in a while, you've been fishing, tell me some good spots that I need to go to. And it ain't that I'm asking where your location that you caught them fish. I'm really asking, why did you choose that spot to go fish? What makes you think that these fish are holding on a 30-foot ledge instead of up in shallow water? That's the information I need to know, so I can go anywhere on that lake and start somewhere.
Now, Jeff, I'm going to ask you another question. If you're going in a tournament and you find a spot that's got a fish in it and you're catching them and they quit biting, are you going to go find a spot like that or someplace different?
I'm just going to move. The first thing I do when I set up in the mornings, believe it or not, I get my lines out, I get my anchors out. I take a bass marker, the little markers you use right for marking brush.
Yep.
A lot of times, the minute I set up the first time in the morning, or especially if I catch a couple fish, I'll throw that marker off the bow of the boat. And I ain't throwing it out to mark where I'm at right now, but if the bite quits, I'll use that marker as a point of reference, and I'll move away from it, left, right, or one of my favorite spots literally is a 3-tier ledge. It's 10 feet. It's got a sharp drop that drops down to about 15 feet. Well, you go out another 100 feet or so, it's got another stair step, drops down to about 20-something feet. Then the next one drops all the way down into the river channel. And literally one of the tournaments on Wiley, when we started, by the time we got done and the sun got up, I had worked my way all the way out. And we were literally look at our buoy and go, okay, let's move another 20 yards. And I actually had 2 buoys out that day. A lot of times those fish don't just quit eating.
No.
They've moved. And like you were talking about earlier, it may not be for that day. What it was, we had, bluebird skies. So that morning we were up tight again to point. Minute the sun got up a little bit higher, we noticed all the bait equipment. You didn't see the bait all over the surface anymore. We backed down to where we could just hit that next ledge. And I'm one of those people, literally, I throw my line out to where when it falls, it is touching that ledge. I want it on the very bottom, right against the ledge. I don't want it 3 feet from the ledge. I want it on that ledge.
That's right.
I use the buoys a lot when I'm coming up out of a ledge. One of my videos, open water anchoring, I talk about using a buoy. I will literally start driving up to that ledge, and I'll throw that buoy off the back of the boat about 20 foot from that ledge. Because I know if I throw and I hit that buoy with my line, put my thumb on the spool, when it swings back, it's dead against that ledge. It's right there where they're going to be swimming. They're not going to be swimming 20 feet from the ledge. They're going to be right against the side of it. It's comfort. Plus, gravity takes everything from the top, trickles it down, it stops right in that ledge. Current, it rolls right up against that ledge. You can't push it up the ledge, but it'll push it right up against it. Those fish know. Now I got totally off of what you asked me, but I use that. So if I, like the area we was talking about, it's got 3 steps. I just work my way down the steps. And, there is a point where you go, okay, they're done. Or I pretty much scattered the whole pool. And if that's the case, most of the time I'm not going to go look for the exact same thing I just had, because more likely they move from there too. Right. The sun's going up, I'm going to move deeper. In the wintertime, the sun gets way up, I'm going to move shallow. I'm going to chase the bait. I mean, I'm a firm believer. I don't care if I mark fish or not. Some of my best tournaments, I didn't mark a single fish, but I marked bait stacked up, or I marked schools of perch stacked up, and I targeted the perch schools and the bait schools. And I think that's why crappie fishermen make great catfishermen, because we know what we're looking for. We're looking for those panfish on the screen. We can pick them out like they ain't nothing, or we can pick up that brush pile like it ain't nothing. Man, you learn to just target the stuff, just use bigger tackle. I'm just out there crappie fishing, catching catfish, essentially.
Yep, that's a great analogy. And, a ledge is nothing but a 4-lane highway for fish to travel. Now, you can look at it a lot of ways, but it's just like fishing the dams. They got all them locks across the dam. Well, them fish ain't out there where that hot current is. They're in that seam that comes between the locks. That's their highway to get up there and get that bait fish that's coming through there and get back out and eat. And they don't all have fish on them, just like all ledges don't have fish, or all wing dikes don't hold fish. But the ones that you find that do will have a lot of fish usually, and they'll be good fish. You find that highway that they're using, you'll catch fish.
Now, to ask you that question, you asked him if the fish are biting good and all of a sudden they quit biting. What size fish you talking about, Lyle? Now, if I'm on 5 to 10 pound fish and they biting good and all of a sudden they quit, I'm going to throw bigger baits and set right there in that hole.
Fish coming in.
I'm waiting on Mama to come up through there.
Most of the time I'm wrong, but I'm hoping that anyway.
Yeah, I'm talking about average size tournament fish, which I would say anywhere from teenage fish on up. But a lot of times I'll have a spot that I know where's at. Say I'm on a sand flat, and we're catching fish, and pretty soon they're just not biting, or all you're getting is little bitty ones. I'll pull up and I'll know where there's another sand flat at, and I'll go to that. And if they're biting there, I'll do the same thing until they quit biting. Or if they're in 30-foot holes or 40-foot holes, and you don't see them, you're not marking them anymore, or they're not biting anymore, I'll go to another 30 or 40 or some kind of hole that is very similar to that and set up on that and see if I can catch fish there. But a lot of times, and this is stuff that people don't ever tell you. You got to fish structure a lot of times, because your sonar, regardless what brand it is and how good it is, does not pick up every fish. And if they're buried in the mud, there's a lot of fish it won't pick up. And if you find a tree in the water, a rock, a ledge, something that is different, a lot of times that's where your fish will come from.
Well, that Ted was talking about that when he was on your show that one night, talking about flatheads and rock piles.
Yep.
That just blowed my mind. I had never thought about it and the way that he explained it, and talking about catching flatheads right outside of the brush, and then all of a sudden you said, well, they quit biting. He said, no, they didn't quit biting. They just moved on up towards the feeding spot.
Right.
So you need to follow them. I thought, totally makes sense.
You know, and Chuck Davidson and I talked about that. We go to tournaments and I'd meet him down there, and old Chuck, he'd cuss and raise hell because a front had moved through. I said, Chuck, them fish didn't go very far. They probably are not in the exact same spot you found them yesterday, but they didn't go very far. They probably went a little deeper or a little up or a little down, but they're right there somewhere. Right. They didn't go that far, but they usually will move when a front comes through for whatever reason. And I don't know what the reason is for that, but invariably they won't be in the exact spot they've been, but they don't go that far. That is a rule.
Yes, sir. I've learned a lot from y'all guys tonight. That's what I want. And Jeff, I'd like to get you back on another night. One of the nights that we're going to start working on. I talked with Lyle about it. I'm going to kind of old school. If you went to a lake and you looked up and you said, hot dang, I left my depth finder sitting on the bar at the house,
I'd be heartbroken, dude.
But that's what some of the shows that I talk with Lyle that I want to work with is bringing some of these experienced guys in that fished when we didn't have nothing but daggum the little flashers.
I still got a flasher.
But I want to know, I want people to learn. I think a lot of people has got so dependent on electronics. I want to take us back. I want us to learn, why did you pick that spot, and not because that electronic said so, but what did you learn from the land, from the waters, from different things that told you why you wanted to fish there for those bigger fish. I think that we've lost some of that because of technology. And, you know, you love to get out there and be on the water 10 minutes, and all of a sudden you blow a fuse or you short out and you lose that electronics. What are you going to do then? Are you going to pack it up and go home? And you just spent $50, $100, $150, $200, $300 to fish that tournament? No. You're gonna strike out with everything you got, and it's good to have that extra tool in your toolbox.
Yep, I agree. And there's a lot of old tricks. And to be quite honest, James, until you talk to me about that here a while back, some of the things that have come to my mind, like that we was going to get some stuff checked on today, and it just popped in my mind about different things that I'd forgot about, because you rely on those electronics so much, and you forgot about
mapping. 99 mapping.
Yeah, that used to be the holy grail because that's all you had. And how accurate were they? Nobody knows, because that's what you had. Whether it was accurate or not, you had to use what you had. And then they come out with flashers. Oh my God. I thought the world would never get any better than them flashers. And now I don't suppose you use yours unless it's ice fishing. I don't think anybody does other than ice fishermen, but those things, when they come out, that was something that nobody ever thought that you'd be able to find fish with electronics.
What about
my crazy tale? I never did learn.
No, I didn't ever have a paper graph.
I had a paper graph.
I never did learn how to read one of them cotton picking flashers. Never did. That son of a gun drove me daggum bat poop crazy, son. I never had anybody that could really explain what I was seeing.
Doc and I talked about them a lot, and I'll guarantee you, I've seen Doc do things with electronics that I couldn't do, and I guarantee you, when Doc had a flasher, he knew what it was telling him.
Well, the thing about the flasher is it was never wrong.
That's right.
Flashers didn't lie to you. You had that one steady one. That was your bottom. If you seen a flash anywhere between there and the surface, it was
a fish. There was something in there. That's right.
Their butts about it. Didn't get all this clutter you get like the new stuff.
Right. And that's what I thought I was looking at. Right. That's what I thought I was looking at, but I wasn't sure because I didn't have nobody that could verify that's what I was looking at. But these lines were staying pretty steady, and then I had to get something in between, and I thought, I hope that's a fish and not a tree or whatever. But that comes with
they're on the bottom.
Right. But but Jeff, that comes with all electronics. The only way to know what's all you're seeing is to learn what you're catching. If you're seeing this arch, this size of arch, and the only way to know what that fish actually is to catch it. But I guess over the time and the years, you start saying, all right, that arch, that's largemouth bass, or that's probably a carp, or that's a gar. That comes with time on the water, right?
It does.
It's location. That's all there is to it. I mean, like I say, I love it when people go, yeah, I was at the school of this or school of that, and I'm going, how can you tell? Well, the arc had this little bit of no. I done a video one time. Too bad I lost it, but I took 2-liter bottles, sunk them. 2-liter bottles. I had a 2-liter, I had a 16-ounce bottle, and I had a 1-gallon bucket. I literally sunk them with bricks out in Wiley and rode by them. I rode by them slow one time.
Yep.
Oh, these fishes was huge, solid.
Yep.
Drove by them next time, little quick blips on there.
Yep.
Then I went by the 16-ounce bottle. It was the same size arch that the bigger bucket gave me, because I went across it a little slower, got a little bit more reflection, got directly over the top of it, and then I'd pick on people. So what do you think that is? That's probably a bass. Nope, that's a 2-liter bottle. Just to mess with people, because it messes with your ideas. I mean, like I say, right. People think too much a lot of times. They do.
They overthink things, and I do too. You just overthink stuff.
That one video.
Hammer, if all you got's a hammer, everything's a nail. Well, if you're a bass fisherman, everything you see is largemouth. If you're a cat fisherman, everything I see is bait or catfish. I don't worry about that.
Well, that one video you put out, Jeff, you explained a lot where you was drawing on your whiteout board of how that sonar is actually reading them arcs and stuff like that. Very good video, guys and gals. Check it out. Jeff explains a lot of stuff that might help you answer some of the questions that you have about how that sonar is actually reading what's down there.
Check it out.
That is.
Wow, it's been a good show.
James, it's been a great show. And Jeff, we can't thank you enough for coming on here. We wish you the very greatest of success with your tournament this weekend. I find it extremely intriguing. We're going to make plans, try to be out there again next year. Hopefully nothing will get in the way. I just think that is going to be way too much fun out there. I hope that somebody does a live broadcast so the rest of the world can see what you guys are doing. I don't know if you allow people to do live broadcasts from their boats.
If they can do anything, like I say, it's all about fun, be respectful, but hey, I encourage it. I hope everybody goes live. Every time they catch a big monster fish, I hope they go live, because I'm going to tell you, if I see somebody that goes live with a 40-pound blue cat, then I probably won't worry about keeping my little 20-pounder when I go to sleep.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of us out in the mid-United States, or even as far as I know a lot of guys out in California, but if they know about it, they can watch it, because they're fishing big catfish out in California these days, in Arizona and different places. But everybody wants to see how this goes. If the people that fish in there will do some live feeds, then we can see how this goes. And maybe some of the tournament directors from our area would say, hey, I think we need to take a look at that, because to me it's extremely intriguing, and it will make more rounded fishermen out of the guys trying to do that than somebody that just catches blues or just catches flatheads or just catches channel cat. If you're in an area where there's all three and you got to catch one of each, it'll make you a better fisherman.
I see Betty Jean said that Chunky Cat is live right now. So when the show shuts down, if you want to watch somebody on the bank catching fish, Chunky Cat is on the bank fishing.
He is, and I would like to say, for those that haven't seen it yet, Mark from Catfish and Crappie put a giant flathead in the boat the other night. His video premiered right about an hour before we went live. I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's a stud. He done a heck of a job with that, and it's a great video to watch. Be sure to check that out. We're going to have Mark on the show with us in a few weeks. And Doc Lang, has talked to James and is supposed to join us next week on the show. That's going to be a good time.
Jeff, that's going to be an old school show next week, so come join us in there and chat.
Yeah,
Throw up some questions for these old rascals.
For the ones that don't know, James is going to be asking Doc and I our opinions on stuff that we done back before we had all the technology that we have today. I hope I can remember that stuff that far back. I know Doc hadn't forgotten none of it.
Well, I tried to prepare him ahead of time so y'all could be thinking about some of that stuff. So I think it'll be a good show.
It will be. Jeff, again, thanks so much. Good luck with your tournament. We'll be talking soon.
We'll see you down there on the water, Jeff. Oh, I got 2 barbers coming with me for you.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. We'll holler at you. See you.
Thanks, Illegal Outdoorsman. Thanks, everybody, for watching Catfish Weekly. See you next Monday night.